Okay, so I wanted to give you a few guided reading tips so that with any picture book or any book that you've got at home, you can have a go at doing some guided reading by yourselves. Okay, so first things first is you need to choose yourself a storybook. It could be a picture book, a storybook, a book you've never read before, or a book you know quite well. The first thing you're going to do is read the title, okay? So my story is called The Storm Whale. You can have a go at reading the blurb, and then the first thing that's really important is you need to look at the pictures in the book and have a think to yourself, what do I think is going to be this in the story? What is the story about? In other words, what do I think is going to be the plot of the story? Also, what is the setting of the story? And lastly, who do I think the characters are going to be? Okay, next thing you need to do is have something called a pre-read. Okay, so pre-read is where you read the book by yourself. And if there are any words that you're a bit confused about, you could write them on a piece of paper and then ask your grown-ups later what they mean. Remember, if you come to a word that you're not sure of, you can look at the pictures to help you. Read all the other words to see if that gives you a little clue. Remember to break words down, that will help you as well. Or think about what else does that word look like. Okay, those are all good strategies to use. So read all the pages by yourself. Brilliant. Okay, so once you've done your pre-read, now it's time for the read, okay? So you might like to do this with a grown-up, or you could read it to a toy, but it's important to read this out loud this stage, okay? So the last pre-read, you were reading it in your head, and now you're reading it out loud, okay? So you need to do your Peter pointer finger, pointing to the words and reading the words out loud. And grown-ups, if you could listen to make sure that your children are saying the words correctly. Brilliant. Okay, so by now you've done a flip through the book. You have done a pre-read. You have read the story out loud. Okay, the next thing to do is answer some questions. These are the areas that we focus on when we are talking to the children during guided reading. Okay, so the first one, we talk about making predictions. So when we've done the pre-read, that's when you would maybe ask, okay, what do you think the story's about? What is going to happen at the end of the story? So can they make a prediction? The second part is visualising. Okay, can they put themselves in the story? How would they feel if they were in the deep, dark woods? Number 3, make connections. So that could be connections to other story. For example, the Gruffalo. Can they think of another story with a mouse in it, or a snake or a fox? Make connections to themselves. So if you were reading Storm Whale, have you ever been to the seaside? Have you ever seen a whale? So that's making connections. Making inferences. So if you've got a picture of a little girl and she's got a scarf on, you could say, is the girl hot or cold? So they have to use their knowledge and look at the pictures to decide that the girl is cold because she's wearing a hat and scarf. So synthesising is a really important one, and that is whilst the children are reading the story, so you would ask them at the beginning of the story, what do you think is happening in the story so far? And then ask them towards the middle of the story and then at the end. And where their ideas are changing, that's synthesising. So it's how their ideas of the story changes over time. Determines the importance. So who is the main character? That's quite an easy one. Ask questions. So can they ask questions about the story? Do they ask questions to help develop their own understanding of the story? And then lastly, retell and summarise it. So can they retell what's happening in the story, and can they summarise it quickly? Okay, so these points are really important, and if you focus just on 1 or 2 of them as your child's reading their story, it's going to be very beneficial. Okay, I hope this helps, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email or pop it on Tapestry. Okay, thank you.